Have you ever tried to read a company's sustainability report and just felt lost? You see all these glossy photos and big, bold promises, but it's really hard to tell what's legit and what's just clever marketing. Well, when it comes to something as complex as where a company gets its wood, it turns out the real story isn't just in what they certify, but in what they don't. So, how can we possibly cut through all that jargon and find the truth? That's exactly what we're going to figure out. Luckily, we've got a powerful tool to help us cut through the noise: the SASB standards. Think of them as a kind of universal translator for corporate responsibility. They help companies report on the sustainability issues that actually impact their finances using data that's consistent and comparable. And for our purposes today, they are going to be our roadmap. So here's how we'll break it down. First, we'll do a quick dive into what SASB standards even are. Then, we'll zoom in on the specific challenge of sourcing wood. We'll look at how it's measured, and then, this is the good part, we'll get to the heart of it: what happens with uncertified wood. And finally, we'll wrap up with why all of this matters so much. All right, let's start at the beginning with the foundation. What exactly are these standards we're going to be using? So the cool thing about SASB standards is they're not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. They've actually created 77 different sets of standards, each one custom-tailored to a specific industry. And that makes sense, right? The sustainability risks for a tech company are going to be totally different from a car company. The whole point is to give investors and us clear, relevant info on the stuff that could actually impact a company's financial health. Okay, now let's narrow our focus. We're going to hone in on the building products and furnishings industry. We're talking furniture, flooring, construction materials, companies that use a ton of wood. The biggest challenge for this industry is just how global its supply chain is. Wood is being sourced from countless forests all over the planet, and every single one has its own set of environmental laws, social issues, and frankly, different levels of oversight. This creates an incredibly complex web of risks for any company that depends on it. And this quote from the standard itself really hits the nail on the head. We're not just talking about trees here. One wrong move in that supply chain, say sourcing from an illegally logged forest, can lead to massive fines, major supply disruptions, and, as the standard points out, a damaged brand that customers just don't trust anymore. And that hits the bottom line, hard. So how does SASB help a company, and more importantly, us, make any sense of this mess? Well, it provides a really clear set of metrics. It basically creates a dashboard for understanding what's going on in that company's wood supply chain. It boils a super complicated reality down into 3 core numbers. First, how much wood did they buy? Just the total amount. Second, what percentage of that wood came from forests that were certified by a third party? An organization like the Forest Stewardship Council or FSC. And third, they have to break that down by each type of certification. This gives us a fantastic high-level view right off the bat. So let's just imagine a company's report for a second. You might see a chart that looks something like this. Okay, they're sourcing from a few different certified standards: FSC, SFI, PEFC. That's good. But take a look at that big slice of the pie right there. 30% is uncertified. And this is where things get really, really interesting. This is where a company's true colors start to show. And that brings us to the main event. This is the real test. We're moving beyond those simple certified numbers and looking at the part of the supply chain that doesn't have a nice, neat little label on it. This, right here, is the question that separates the companies that are truly committed from the ones that are just, talking a good game. Just because wood isn't certified doesn't automatically mean it's bad, but it absolutely means the company has a much bigger job to do to prove that it's good. So here's the crucial takeaway. SASB doesn't just stop at the percentages. It forces companies to pull back the curtain and describe in detail what their policies and practices are for all that uncertified wood. It's the story behind the numbers that really gives them meaning. And this is the core of it all. This is the checklist. A company has to explain its policies for every single one of these points. First, legality. Are they absolutely sure this wood wasn't illegally harvested? Second, biodiversity. Are they avoiding protected areas and other really valuable conservation zones? Third, habitats. Are they making sure their logging isn't threatening endangered species? Fourth, and this one is so critical, are they respecting the land rights of indigenous peoples? Fifth, what are their suppliers actually doing on the ground? And finally, are they ensuring their wood isn't coming from forests that use things like GMOs or harmful pesticides? This level of detail, that's what genuine transparency looks like. Okay, so we've been deep in the weeds. Now let's zoom back out and talk about why this intense focus on the details has such a massive impact in the real world.
This kind of deep disclosure does so much. For starters, it lets investors see which companies are actually managing their risks and which ones are just sitting on a ticking time bomb. It protects brands from getting called out for greenwashing because they have the receipts. It helps ensure a stable supply of materials. And maybe most importantly, it meets the demands of all of us, customers who want to buy products we can actually feel good about.
And let's be clear, this isn't just about playing defense and avoiding problems. As the standard itself points out, managing your supply chain this carefully isn't just a cost, it's an opportunity. It's a way to win over customers, to break into new markets, and to build a much stronger, more resilient business for the long haul. It's just plain smart business.
So the next time you pick up one of those sustainability reports and see a section on wood sourcing, you'll know exactly what to look for. Don't just get dazzled by the % certified number. Dig deeper. Look for the story they tell about their uncertified supply chain. Look for that checklist, because that is where you're going to find the real story. So what are you going to be looking for first?